After a handful of postpones and delays, something exciting finally happened in the Kamigami Battles world. A new core set came out. This time using a more modern mythology. This set is called Rise of the Old Ones, which is based on the H.P. Lovecraft stories. Just like the other two core sets, Battle 9 Realms and River Souls, this does come with everything you need to play down the game on its own. Even includes a new card called Artifact Cards, which is going to be a new thing going forward. I got this set from being a backer for the Kickstarter. Along with this core set, I got a few additional things, such as this warrior card, H.P. Lovecraft himself, or as close as he can be, he is dead, and this pack of promo god cards. I also did get the foil version of all the god cards in this set and the two expansion sets that came out along with the core set, which is called Into the Dreamlands and The Stars Are Right, which I'm going to do a separate video on them. Also, being a backer, they sent me this playmat, but I'm going to have to complain because this playmat, like the tape here came off, and this top was literally open like that when I got it, so I'm not exactly happy about it, but whatever, I was going to open it anyways. At least this way it's already partially opened. Unlike my other unboxing videos, I'm actually going to take a second to take a look at the cards and show them off, rather than just reading their names and showing their art. Unlike the other mythologies, this one's completely new to me. I never really looked into Cthulhu or H.P. Lovecraft's work. I am vaguely familiar with it. I do know they redesigned the interior a little bit, so I'm hoping I can put my cards in here sleeved perfectly with the expansion sets as well. Alright, and a 1 and a 2, and time to release the old gods from their captivity. Oh, what's this? So you got the rule book here. Sure, it's going to be an updated rule book, detail all the new things and all the clarifications that were confusing in the past. I'm going to have to take a quick look at this later. Well, it looks like my little coin thing here has been all punched out. Not sure what that's all about. Or maybe I just don't get more than what's here. But that's so unusual. If it's not the case, then why would there be so many gaps? Whatever. Ooh, here's the cards. And that's Disciple 1, 2, Disciple 1, and looky here. Looks like they fell out, or someone punched them out. Find it hard to imagine I'm going to punch these out and then seal the box off of plastic wrap. That seems kind of silly. They must have fallen out somehow. We have a warrior deck there. Another warrior deck. Some more little bits punched out. Oh, there's a lot of them here, actually. That's where they all went. How nice of them to give us some kind of measurements or kind of count of coins here. I've just been using dice to keep track of life because it makes things easier. Or poker chips work too. And here are the dividers. Here you go. The gods. Which I'm going to open and go through thoroughly. And then inside the box, well, interesting with a little plastic divider. I'm not sure how that's going to work out to hold all the cards when they're sleeved up. Because when cards are sleeved up, they take up much more room than you would imagine. Yeah, I think that would work. Not sure what this little gap here is for. Maybe that's for putting... I don't know. We'll find out later. But hopefully they made this box like they made the other boxes, where you can put all your cards in there, including the expansion sets. Before I do start unwrapping everything, take a look at that playmat they sent. This is just a basic layout playmat, I'm not sure what you want to call it, but the kind that you would use to see where to place things. Oh, look at that. That's not that bad looking. Keeping up with the green color, because everyone likes green for some reason. Look at that. You have a warrior deck here, artifact deck, artifact deck. You got disciples, and a netherworld. So you got all the slots you need here for organizing your cards in the game. Overall, it feels like every other playmat. So nothing special, but nothing bad. Feels like every good playmat you would have. Now to take a look at the more interesting thing, the gods here, because that's what we all want to see and know. This also includes the temples. They're all together in one. And the first god here is going to be Azeroth, or Azeroth, however you want to pronounce it. Let's see here. Act, reincarnate one warrior from your hand, take one warrior from the Hall of Heroes with the same cost or less and put it in your discard pile. Interesting. So you'd send one warrior card from your hand back into the warrior deck, and then you can take one warrior from the Hall of Heroes and put it in your discard pile. So if you want to switch out warriors, that's an option. That's pretty good. And to react, pay 1 energy during an attack. The attacker must discard one warrior from their hand, or you may change the target to any god, including the attacker's gods. Interesting. Play 1 energy during an attack, so it doesn't have to be your attack, it's any attack. The attacker must discard one warrior from their hand, or you may change it. So you can actually control who your opponent is attacking. It's pretty good. It's gonna make you a lot of friends. Next one is Glaaki. My goodness, these names. Let's see. Act, pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of blue artifacts by 2 until the end of this turn. So just pick up an artifact, cheap artifacts, make artifacts cheaper. In the second act, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand, and put the remaining cards on the bottom or top of your deck in any order. Oh, you can get some additional draw power there, that's pretty good. So making blue artifacts cheaper and be able to draw cards on top of your deck by your choice. Next is... Nyarla Soropt. I'm not even trying to say. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Pay 1, remove 1 energy from each of the other gods. Ooh, that's a good one for team battles or for free-for-alls. You're gonna make everyone like you. Everyone lose, even you lose. You pay 1, so even you're losing a life to do that to everyone. Second ability, react. If your god or location will be reduced, location. Interesting, says location, not tempo. I wonder if that's something new I should look up. If your god or location will be reduced to 0 energy, banish 1 warrior from your hand to reduce your god or location to 1 instead. Okay, so it's kind of like Taurus from the Battle 9 Realms, where if you drop below certain HP, you can discard Taurus from your hand to survive with just 1 HP, but this is for your god or location, which I think should be temple. Is it Taurus? It should be Taurus. I'm quite rusty, to be honest. And we have this here, Salazogua. Alright, first ability, act, pay 1 fate point, look at the top 3 cards, any draw deck, discard 1 card, and put the rest back in any order. Okay, so that's, you can mess with your deck or other people's decks, so that's kind of like a way to, if you want to do an adjudication, whatever it was called, you can rig it in your favor or rig it in someone else's favor. It only costs fate points, not life points, which is pretty good. And the second act, banish 1 warrior disciple from your hand, take a warrior with the same cost from the Hall of Heroes and put it in your discard pile. So it's kind of similar to Aza over there. I'm going to say Aza because I can't pronounce the rest of its name, where it's a banish 1 warrior disciple from your hand, as opposed to I want to reincarnate 1 warrior from your hand. But then you take a warrior the same cost from the Hall of Heroes into your discard pile, so you can switch out or trade out your heroes that way, but they're going to be gone if you do that. That's pretty good. Well, you know, if you want to switch it out. Next is Nodens. Let's see, Nodens. Pay 1 life, banish 1 warrior with a cost of 3 or less in any player's discard pile. So if you want to get rid of people's warriors or cheap warriors and annoy everyone, that's perfect right there. Second ability, act, pay 2 energy, take 1 warrior or disciple from the Netherworld and put it in your discard pile. Oh, so you can be extra pesky with this guy. You can pay 1 to banish a warrior, the cost of 3 from the player's discard pile, and then pay 2 to take a warrior or disciple from the Netherworld, which is where it was banished to, and put in your deck. So you can take other people's warrior cards that are in their deck, so you gotta watch out for that if you have warriors in your deck that you wanna, in your discard pile I should say, sorry, in your discard pile if you wanna keep them. Next is Yog Solsov. Pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of warriors with cost of 4 or more by 1 until the end of the turn. So if you plan to buy a lot, that'll be useful. Otherwise than that, it's kind of moot. Act, pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of warriors with a cost of 4 or more by 1 until the end of this turn. So if you want to get a bunch of warriors, you have a lot of faith points to spend, that'd be useful. Definitely better later in the game when you have a ton of faith points. Second ability, it's a react, pay 1 energy, cancel a god's ability. Oh, it's one of those. Yeah, that's always great to have. Being able to cancel your opponent's abilities, that's going to annoy them. Next is Norse Yiddick. See, act, reincarnate an artifact from your hand, gain 1 energy. So reincarnate meaning, again, sending that card to its appropriate deck. So in this case, artifacts, you're sending it back to the artifact deck and you gain 1 HP. And second ability, react, pay 2, banish a warrior that just attacked your god or location. Alright, so that's a discourager, so it'll discourage your opponent from attacking. Thing is, it says banish a warrior that just attacked. So it's going to be after fact. So if they just attacked you, you're going to have to take the damage or protect yourself if you can with a defender card. And then you can activate the ability and get rid of them. Next is, it's like, whatever. First act, reincarnate the warrior or artifact in the Hall of Heroes and gain 1 fate point. So you can do that just once, so you reincarnate. So you're just sending it back to the warrior deck or artifact deck and just get a new one out there and you gain a fate point. Second act, banish a warrior disciple from your hand, gains 3 fate points. Interesting. So this is more about gaining fate points by messing around with the Hall of Heroes in your hand. It'd be pretty useful later on in the game when you don't need your disciples as much anymore, when you have more warriors. Next is Atalak Nacha. These names don't get any better. First ability is an act. Discard a warrior from your hand, remove 1 HP from a god or location. So that's remove. That's always one of those tricky things because you actually can't use a defender to block that. You're gonna have to use an ability like so whatever, this one right here, where it's pay 1 to cancel a god's ability. But then again, do you want to really lose 1 HP or pay 1 HP to lose 1 HP? Yeah, you know. Second ability, react, discard disciple from your hand, 2+ defense. You may activate this ability only once per attack. Okay, so if you have disciples in your hand, you can attack and discard one of them to give yourself 2 defense against an attack. You may activate the ability only once per attack, so you can actually, every attack you get, as long as you have disciples in your hand, you can discard them and get 2 defense from that. So that's pretty good. You can't stack it, like you can't discard 2 using that ability, only 1. But that's still really good. Next is Eyes Amongst the Stars. At least one of them I can actually read. I wonder if that's any relation to expansion set. The stars are right. Now, let's see here. Act, banish 1 warrior from your hand, gain 2 HP. Okay, that's pretty standard, I guess. Second act, pay 1 HP or energy. I keep saying HP energy, same thing. Look at an opponent's hand. If they have 4 more cards in their hand, they must discard the card of your choice. Oh, so that's a throwback to, I believe, Pisces from the Battle 9 rounds. It might not be a throwback, but that's a similar ability. Basically the same exact thing, for the most part. Next is the big honcho itself, whatever, Cthulhu. So what does Big Chief Cthulhu do? Act, play a warrior into the current chain, ignoring color requirements. You may perform an act on that warrior. That's really good, actually, so you can play any warrior out of order, but you can only do it once because it's an act, so, but that's really good. I'm liking that so far. And then, react, banish a warrior from your hand, prevent all loss of energy Cthulhu from the current attack. Okay, so they gave Cthulhu some really good abilities there. Able to forcibly put a warrior in chain the way you want it to, and you can prevent all damage hitting you from the current attack. And next card is going to be, oh my goodness, that name. Well, I'm just gonna call this character Shub. Okay, first act, banish 2 disciples, reveal the top card of the warrior deck. If it has a cost of 4 or less, put it in your hand. If not, banish it. So you can disciples, you're banishing 2 of them, which would be useful mid and later game when you don't need your disciples as much. You can banish them and hopefully grab a warrior for 4 or less from the top of the warrior deck. It's not too bad. And the other act, gain 1 fate point for each warrior you play this turn. Ah, so you can play your warriors that are green. So this is more focused on green warriors in order to gain fate points. That's pretty good. And next are the temples, which are now locations. So I did quick check. Locations and temples are interchangeable. They're the same exact thing. It would appear that to keep things semantic, they decided to use the term locations for HP Lovecraft stuff because they weren't really in temples, they were in locations or spots, I don't know. But this first temple or location, I'm going to call them both. React, when you purchase a disciple, gain 1 energy here. You may activate this ability once per turn. Interesting, it says here. And the second act, pay 2 energy from here. Interesting, it says from here instead of from location or from the name itself. Use an act or react on the next artifact you play twice. Next location, Relief. Oh, the first one's called Dunridge, which isn't that hard to pronounce, but I didn't even bother. Let's see. React. When your warrior or disciple it's banished. Gain 1 here. You make use ability once. Okay, so 1 HP every time a warrior disciple is banished. Your warrior disciple. And see, act, pay 1 from here, draw 1 warrior, or from your discard pile with a cost of 3 or less. Okay, so you can use this as an act during your turn and regain a warrior as 3 or less from your discard pile. It's not that bad, very useful. Next is Insamouth. When your god loses HP, gain 1 HP on this. Okay. Once per turn, yada yada. Act, pay 2 from here. For this turn, blue creatures gain act attack +2. Creatures, interesting. Instead of warriors, it's creatures. When we get to the warriors, I'm going to look at that, see if that means anything, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Doesn't seem to mention the word creatures or the term creatures. I'm pretty sure it means warrior, because what else would it be? But as we go through the cards, we'll find out for sure. But interesting, doesn't even say it in the glossary here, creatures. Or when I check warriors, it doesn't even clarify that either. Next one is, I'm not going to bother. When you play defense, interesting the way that's worded. I mean, it's nothing rule-wise, it's just interesting that they choose to word it in such a mannerism. Gain 1 energy here, only once per turn. Pay 1 energy, add 1 energy to persistent artifacts. So I don't know what that means just yet. When we get there, we'll circle around back with that. I do know persistent means that it continues. It doesn't get discarded, it just sticks around. So that might be the limit to how long it stick around. Next location is the Nameless City. When your god gains HP, gain 1 on here. You'll do once per turn. Okay, and the ability, act, pay 1 energy from here. Reduce the cost of a gold warrior and artifact by 1 until the end of the turn. Okay, so if you want to pick up gold stuff, or yellow warriors, yellow artifacts, here you go. And the last temple of the set, Severn Valley. When you purchase a warrior, gain 1 energy here. You may not use ability once. And the act, pay 2 energy from here, add 2 energy to your god. Okay, so you can use this to gain energy on your god. Nice. That is all the gods and temples, or locations that they're calling it, that comes in this set. And as addition to the gods, the foil set does include the 3 promo gods, but I'm not going to open this foil set. I think I'm just going to keep it closed this time. I'm just going to play with these cards. But I do have the promos right here from the Kickstarter. So the first promo, a Cthulhu, a Lady Cthulhu instead of whatever that is. And this one has different abilities. React, cancel any effect that will prevent a card from being banished. So if you want to banish a card and someone's trying to prevent it, this will cancel that out. So canceling of the canceling, so to speak. Next ability, act, pay 1 energy, change the chaining color of the last warrior or artifact played to the color of your choice. Pretty similar to Cthulhu's first act, where you can just play any warrior into the chain. This one, you have to pay to play any, change the coloring of the warrior or artifact. So that mentions the artifact, which the original Cthulhu does not, so that's pretty interesting. The other promo is Yidhra. First act, copy an act ability from any god in play and resolve it. You must pay any cost. So that's really good, because if you're playing free-for-all, multiplayer, or teams, you can copy anyone's ability. So you have, rather than just one ability you're stuck with, you have multiples of abilities to utilize. That's pretty cheeky, as long as they're acts, of course. And the second ability, react, pay 1 energy. If your warrior or disciple is banished, return it to your hand instead. So that's very similar to, I believe, Valkyrie from Battle of the Nine Realms, where if your warrior or disciple gets banished, you can bring them back to your discard pile. This one lets you return it to your hand instead. And the last promo god out of the 3 would be Daolov. Well, Act 1, pay 1 energy. Other players may not use defense against your attacks this turn. Ooh, that's cheeky. So if you have a big attack coming, opponents can't prevent it unless they can prevent that from happening. But it does say defense, so if there's an ability that says prevent damage from being taken, you can use that. It's just you can't use cards that have defense. So a little word play there, but there's a way to work around that. And the second ability, react, pay 1 energy, cancel the use of an act ability on a warrior disciple. So it's a canceller as well, so you can stop your opponents from using their warriors or disciples, you know, yada yada. So that is all the gods that comes in this set, including the 3 promos. Overall, some really good gods, some just normal, nothing special, but really strong still. I was a little worried they'd be underwhelming or overwhelming because the last few sets, it seems that the kind of gods they had that coming out, they were just really out there. Some of them were just insanely powerful, other ones were just not even really worth drawing out. Next, we're going to take a look at the disciples that come with this. So there should be 2 of them in this pack, or just 1. Where's the little thing to open this? How peculiar, there's usually a little piece of the plastic that sticks out that you can grab onto. There it is. No, that's not it. A little piece you can stick on, that sticks out you can grab onto and peel all around. I can't find it. Alright, got these out and get a whiff of the nice smell. Oh, I love the smell of brand new cards. Alright, and looks like we got both disciples here. And the first disciple is a cultist. 1 faith point. Banish a warrior from your hand, gain 1 HP on your god or temple. Okay, so pretty standard in terms of faith points and ability. So a little switching up there. And the second warrior, which is a high priestess, the disciple number 2. Act 1 faith point for each disciple you played this turn. In the second act, banish high priestess plus 3. Ooh, that's really good actually, because if you play disciple, not disciple, cultist, and then high priestess, you gain 1 for each one you played prior. So that's actually really good for opening hand, like first turn, because first turn, if you end up drawing your 5 cards and 2 of them are defender cards, and you only have 3 faith points, you can buy the high priestess, and then that goes to the top of your deck. And the following turn, you'll draw the High Priestess and 4 Cultists, because you already have your defense cards that are drawn out. So you can play the 4 Cultists and High Priestess, meaning you gain 4 and 1 for each, so you get 8 faith points turn 2. That's really good. This does not have the tab either. I know it's supposed to have a tab because you can see the line right here. I'm not sure if we're picking up a camera, but there is a line right there where you're supposed to zip around and follow the cards. They're not there. Alright, got that undone. So here's the rest of the disciple number 2s. And there's a disciple number 3, so putting disciple 2 right there. So this is disciple number 3, which is the defense disciple, and there's warriors here after, so put that to the side. And let's see, what does disciple number 3 say? This is a servitors. I'm not sure where that picture is supposed to be exactly. I know it's a waifu, but I can't tell. Well, servitors, act, search your deck for an artifact and put that on the top of your deck. Okay, so this is supporting artifacts. As artifacts, as of now, there is a decent amount of support from the gods. There's only 1 thing from the temple I recall supporting it. And now we have this here, giving some more support to the new cards, which is always good. You want to give a healthy balance of support for new cards and older cards. React 2, defense 2. Second ability, react, defense 2. You may discard disciples from your hand to increase the defense by 1 for each disciple discarded this way. Oh, so that's pretty good. So that means that you can actually stack up on more cultists rather than this defensive disciple number 3 versus previous sets. So the more cultists you discard, or the more disciples in general, you increase your defense by 1 for this defense ability. So that's pretty good. That gives more value into drawing cultists or disciple 1s, because usually you never grab any more. You wouldn't want to. They don't really do much. Even the later sets, they have some additional abilities, but they're not the highest priority. So that's pretty good that it gives them more value now. And now to take a look at the warriors that come in this deck. I don't want to blur it out, but I guess the closest I get. You have Jack Dalton, Adventurer. So red, cost 6. Attack 4. If a god is damaged by this attack, remove 1 HP from the player's location. So it's a 2-hitter. You attack for 4, and if the attack succeeds by damaging this god during the attack, you can remove 1 HP from the player's temple. So that player's temple, that's pretty awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next is Samantha Spade, PI. Red with 3 cost, only 1 act. Attack 2, if a god or location is damaged by the attack, draw 1 card. That's pretty good for 2 attack and a cost of 3. Next is Mad Dog Moreno Mobster. It's a red warrior. Cost 7. It's extremely pricey. Attack 6. Wow, that's huge. I don't think there's another attack. No, that's got to be the biggest attack by default. So that's pretty big. Next red warrior is Officer Sadie Smith. Oh my. Cost 3. Attack 2. If a god or location is damaged by this attack, draw 1 card. So same exact thing. But in addition, it's another react defense too. So it's a defensive card as well. So cost 3, gives you an attack, it gives you defense. It's really good. Liking that so far. And that's all in that 1 pack. So I'm going to open the next pack here. Alright, next warrior is going to be Shoghov. It's a red warrior, cost 5. Attack 3, Shoghov gets 1 attack for each card used to defend against Shoghov. Oh my. So that means if you play defense cards against this, the more cards you use, the more attack it gets. So you really have to play several to negate its attack, or overcome its attack I should say, but it gains 1 for each one, so you gotta account for that. That's a tricky to defend against. 5 too, that's moderately pricey and really good. Next is going to be Xionian. Red warrior, 5 cost. First ability, reveal, remove 1 energy from the current player's god. Ooh, that's going to be irritating. So the way reveals work is that when the warrior space, or the Hall of Heroes I should say, or just the warriors, if there's an empty slot, you take a card from the warrior deck, you put it out there. When you reveal it, if it has a reveal ability, then that ability not activates. So that means that if this card is in the warrior deck, you're gonna have to like not be happy when you play new warriors out from the warrior deck, because if you pop this one out, you take 1 damage. It's not cool. But attack 5 for attack 5. That's pretty big. So interesting. And I believe there's the last red warrior. It's Servant of Glaaki. It's a red warrior with a 3 cost. So first ability. Attack 2. If a god or location is damaged by this card, draw 1. Interesting. 3 attack warriors. Red warriors have the same exact ability. There's a lot of draw power in this particular set. I wonder if that's intentional for the reason of, I don't know, making the game go faster probably, or just annoying the crap out of everyone. React. If banished, perform adjudication. If a disciple is revealed, discard a servant instead of banishing them. Okay, so the way that works is that you can't do both the ability attack and react. You have to choose one. So let's say this is in your hand or discard pile. If your opponent's able to banish this card specifically, you can perform the adjudication, and if a disciple is revealed, you discard it to your discard pile, or I guess you leave it in the discard pile instead of having to have this card banished. So it's kind of a lifesaver. You lose the ability to use that card because you're in a discard pile, but you don't lose the card at all, which is still very useful. You don't want to lose your warriors unless it's intentional. Next warrior is Doris Fletcher, Head Librarian, a cost 3, a gray warrior. Act 1, draw 1 card. The second act, reveal the top 3 cards of any player's deck and put any number of them on the bottom of their deck in any order. Put the remaining cards on top of the deck in any order. Okay, so you can just mess around with your opponent's deck that way. Or actually I should say any player's deck. So you can actually use that on your own deck and see what you got and mess with the order of things. Hopefully something you can draw into, because that does chain into a red, which would chain into one of the warriors here, such as Servant of Glaaki, which will allow you to attack and also draw a card. So you would play this card, and you either draw a card or reveal the top of the deck, get the card you want up there, and then attack with that. It's pretty good. We have next Professor Paula Fierce. Tentacle monster is reaching for a waifu. Yeah, that's gray with a cost of 6. Act, draw 2 cards. Second act, look at the top 2 cards of the artifact deck. You may purchase one immediately. Put that remaining cards in the bottom of the artifact deck in any order. Okay, so some more support for the new artifact cards. Next is Elder Sings. Gray with the cost of 4. First act, discard any number of cards from your hand. Draw 1 card for each card discarded this way. So that's really useful. If you're in mid or later game, you just discard your disciples to power that ability up and draw cards. Really good. And a react defense too. It's also a defense card. That's super. Next is the gold or yellow. So we have Father James O'Brien. Give me some Trigun. Is it Trigun? Yeah, give me some Vash Stampede vibes from that. Can't believe I'm making that reference. Yellow, cost of 4. React, defense 2. If the attacking card has attack 3 or more, banish the attacking card from the beginning of the discard phase. Oh my. So that's nice. Defense 2. If it's attack 3 or more, so any of the heavy hitters attack, they get banished at the beginning of the discard phase. So your opponent actually has a chance to save that card. Second act is 2 faith points, so it's more of a resourceful card, a defensive card. I like that ability though. I like just how it's worded, where your opponent, even if they're gonna take a time bond, they're gonna lose that warrior unless they do something to save it. Next yellow card is gonna be Miss Anna Stewart. Cost is 3. Add 1 energy to any location in play. It's pretty good, it's very standard. No cost to do it too, just an act. Second act, reduce the cost of all artifacts you purchase by 1 this turn. So that's the same exact thing as one of the gods who had that ability. So it's an artifact support card there. Otherwise than that, just a nice support card because you get to add energy for free to your temple. And the third yellow card is going to be Dimensional Shambler. Cost of 4. Add 1 energy to any god for free. That's the first act. It's really nice. Just free add energy. Nothing wrong with that. Second act, take 1 artifact from discard pile and add it to your hand. So more artifact support. Starting with the blue, we have Marie Mark Seif. Cost of 3. First act, put 1 artifact from any discard pile in your discard pile. Ooh, so she steals artifacts. Yeah, I get it, Seif. So you're taking an artifact from someone else's pile into yours. That's pretty good. Maybe, you know, depends what you're going to do with it. Second act, choose 1 player to discard 1 random card from their hand if they have 4 more cards from their hand. So reminiscence of Pisces from Battle 9 Realms. Next blue warrior is going to be Deep One. Okay. Cost 2. First ability, take 1 artifact from your discard pile and place it top of your deck. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Reuse those artifacts so you can draw into it hopefully with all the attackers that are there, because it does change to a red, so you can always use that to grab an artifact, put on top of your deck from your discard pile, and then chain that into something like this one here, the Servant. Attack for 1, draw a card, draw that artifact, and continue to chain hopefully. Second ability, reincarnate all artifacts in the Hall of... Oh my goodness. Reincarnate all artifacts in the Hall of Heroes. Next one is Gigi L'Amour. Cost 4, a blue. First ability, act, take 1 disciple from your discard pile and place it on the top of your deck. React, when your opponent attacks your god, redirect the attack to another god. This may target... Oh, the attacker's gods. Oh my, that's gonna be just like... I want to say Noble Star from the Battle 9 rounds where you can redirect attack, so that's another a redirector. And what's nice is that I remember Noble Star, it was a little weird the way it was worded, like could you make it attack your opponent's own god? This one just flat out says it too. When your opponent attacks your god, redirect that attack to another god. This may target the attacker's god. So that's a redirector, and it's half the cost too. That's gonna drive everyone crazy. And lastly are the green warriors. So for green, we're starting out with Dark Young, cost 3. It's a reveal. Oh my. Reveal, remove 1 energy from any god of the current player's choice. That's better. So if there's an empty slot in the Hall of Heroes and a new warrior has to be brought out, when this gets revealed, you get to choose who loses 1 HP. That's really good. Imagine losing to that. Like you have 1 HP left and your opponent buys a warrior and they reveal this one as the next warrior and you lose that 1 HP. That'd be hysterical. I know that's going to happen to me. It usually does. And second ability is act. Take 1 card from your discard pile and place it on top of your deck. Another one. There's a lot of drawing in this, a lot of taking cards from discard pile and putting on top of your deck. Next green warrior is going to be Stella Simon Witch. Cost 3. First ability is an act. Reshuffle your discard pile into your deck, then draw 1 card. Next act is choose any player. They must discard the top 3 cards of their deck. Oh, that's gonna be annoying. Yeah. Yeah, Stella's gonna drive people crazy. And that is the only green warrior. Interesting. There should be 3 green warriors, but looks like they're only settling with 2 in this instance of this deck. And of course, you have these randomizers. So the point of the randomizers is each card has its own randomizer card. If you wanted to play a different format, such as All Out War, or if you wanted to mix it with other sets, you would shuffle the randomizers together with the randomizers of the other sets, and then you would draw them out until you have a set of warriors and disciples. That's if you want to make a more proper random deck, rather than just throwing all the warriors together, or of course you can always pick and choose what kind of warriors you want to have in your deck, but that's what the point of the randomizers are. Very useful for making a completely random deck and just making each experience as different as possible, so no one is going to be none the wiser of what's going to happen. And then of course you have your dividers. So initially when I first got these 2 sets here, I had no idea what these were for exactly. I mean, they were nice to look at and such. I wasn't 100% sure what they were used for, but now I used them. What the dividers are used for is that when you want to use the box to store these cards in, you would use the divider here, and you can see the name at the top. So that way, when you use your randomizers to make a random deck, a random warrior deck, and then you're like, okay, I gotta grab Jack Dalton, you have your other random, you have your cards all here in this one pile, and you would just go, let's see, Dark Young, Doris something, there you go, Jack Dalton. And you would just grab Jack Dalton. And these stick out past the cards themselves, so you can see, even when you're asleep, you can see the names above them. So that's really good that they included these, so that way, when you make the deck using the randomizer cards, rather than having to go through each card that's sleeved in your little box here to find out where it is, you can just use the size of these, or stand them up if you have your own custom box. You can use the size of these to find them easier. So that's what these dividers are for. And now on to the newer cards, the new cards to the set, the artifacts. So we're going to see what these are and what they do. Alright, first artifact we're looking at is going to be called the Necronomicon. This is a gray and cost 4. It is persistent, which I want to go over in a second. Add 1 energy to this artifact. Second ability, react. When attacking, perform an adjudication X times X equals the number of energy on this artifact. Add 1 attack for each disciple revealed. If an artifact is revealed, banish the Necronomicon. So just a few things to unpack here. The way these work is that, let's say you play a warrior. I'm going to go with Servant again. So you play Servant, and the chain is going to be gray or gold. So you would chain that into Necronomicon. And then you would persist to chain that onward. After that, since Necronomicon has to persist, when it comes to the discard phase, this does not get discarded. This remains on the field on your side instead. And then the following turn, or your following turn, I should say, not the following turn, but your following turn, you can use this card's ability again or to react depending on what it is. So that just sticks around, and you can keep using its ability after you get activated with the chain. After your turn is over, it sticks around. So that's an interesting mechanic. So it's kind of thinking like an equip card, so to speak, if you want to look at it that way, like an equip, you're equipping your god with something that is useful every turn, rather than having to depend on drawing it or using your warriors to manipulate your deck to get the card you want to play. This sticks around, but that's only on the ones that say persistent. At least that's what the rules are telling me, if I understand it correctly. I might have to read it a few more times to get it. Next artifact is going to be Revelations of Galaki. It's a yellow, cost 3, react, banish 1 warrior or disciple used for defense this turn. Note that it says used for defense this turn doesn't necessarily mean yours, or when attacking, you can be any. So if you're playing multiple people, if someone plays a defensive warrior disciple, you can banish it. Second react, when a warrior is banished, prevent a warrior from being banished. So it's just preventing a warrior. If it's something a warrior you want to keep, or a warrior in general you don't want banished, you can prevent that from happening. It's useful. Next is on something of Colton. It's a green, cost 3, another persistent card. Act, pay 1, add 1 to this artifact, and then react, remove 1 energy from this artifact, gain 1 faith point. So once again, just like other persistence, you have to play this in chain, and then when the discard turn is coming up, or the discard phase I should say, you don't discard this remains on the field. And then you can activate its act during your turn, and its react when you can. Next is something manuscripts. It's a gray card, costs 2. Act, draw 1 card, or react, cancel the effects of an artifact just played. So it's an artifact that goes against artifacts. Nice diversity there. Next we have Lightning Gun. A red one, costs 3. For the rest of the turn, all your attacks gain +1. So that one attack, that's good. That's boosting all your attack cards. It's really useful. Second ability, react, banish 1 persistent artifact. So any artifact that's persistent, which we've already seen a few of them, this will banish it. So that's really useful. It says common here. I don't know what that's for, because when I looked in the rulebook, I can't see common terminology under artifacts or common under the glossary. So I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm sure I'll figure it out later, or we'll find out, but I don't know what the common is on that, and there's 6 of these. Next is a blue artifact called Misprojector. Not the mistake of Misprotector. Misprojector costs 3 to fate points to buy. It's another common. Interesting. Act at the beginning of your discard phase. You may put any blue warriors that you played this turn on top of your deck instead of discard pile. And then second act, add 1 to a persistent artifact. Okay, so this adds to a persistent artifact, so he powers it up, the ones that are sticking around, and then you can add blue warriors top of your deck. So if you want to keep getting the same blue warrior you just played, you can use that. It's very useful. Next is Shining Trapezoidron. I know what that word is, I just can't pronounce it. It's a yellow with cost of 2. Act, you may look at the top 3 cards of any deck, put 1 of those cards at the bottom. Oh, it's the same thing as the other ones. Same thing as the warrior and the god that does that. So look at the top 3 cards on any deck, put 1 card at the bottom of the deck, and put the remaining cards on the top. Well, not exactly the same, but it's the same mechanic, just different quantities of how you want to manipulate the cards. And second act, gain 1 energy on your god. That's nice. Next is Dust of Ibn Ghazi. It's a red card, costs 3. The first act, warriors and disciples cannot defend against your attacks this turn. That's brutal. That's painful. So you have to resort to your god's abilities to defend you if you can, or your temple. Second act, look at the hand of your player with 4 more cards in your hand. Choose 1 disciple there and discard. Okay, so again, similar to, I want to say Pisces again, from Battle of the 9 Realms, where you can mess your opponent's hand and you have 4 more cards. Next is Greenstone Idol. It's a blue card, costs 3, another persistent one. There's a lot of persistent ones in this, which I guess will make sense because you want to give the artifacts that feel of them being equipped cards or item cards as opposed to warriors that kind of distinguish. You give that an RPG element, or that Kontar Cthulhu thing where they're using items to do whatever it is they're doing in the mythology. Act 1. Discard 1 disciple from your hand, add 1 energy to this artifact. Alright, so disciple the cultists. You want to discard them. And the second act, banish this artifact, remove a number of energy from a god equal to the number of, oh my. So every turn you would add a life point to this by discarding a discard and add 1. So it's 1. So every turn you discard 1 disciple, add 1 to this, and then banish this artifact. So you move that image. Oh. So every turn you're discarding a disciple to power it up, and then when you can, you want to discard this, or you want to say banish this artifact, and then you lose that much energy that's on that. That's pretty good. Next is Blackstone. It's a blue, costs us 3. It's another persistent. Add 1 energy to this artifact. Okay. And then the second act, banish the artifact, choose 1 warrior from the Netherland whose cost is equal to the number of energy on this artifact and place it on top of your deck. So this lets you grab warriors for free, so to speak, because every turn you're putting energy on this without any cost. And then you can banish this to grab a warrior of that cost from the Netherland. That's pretty good. Next artifact is something lamp. It's a gold, costs 3, so it's only act. Pay 1 energy from your god. Add 1 energy to your location. If your location has been destroyed, turn it over before adding the 1 energy. Turn it over before adding the what? Okay, I get it now. If your location is destroyed, turn it over before add. So you can, I think this is bringing it back. So if your location is gone, you can use this to bring it back and then add the 1 energy to it. Maybe that's what it's trying to say. So it brings back your location. I'm guessing that's what it's trying to say. I mean, that's really useful in that case. And the last one, artifact card, Ring of Ebrion. It's a moon, so it's a gray card, costs 3. And its act, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, draw 1 card and put the remaining cards on the top of your deck in any order. So it's the same thing as the other ones, but a little different on the drawing on the top of the deck. It's drawn off the top of your deck. And that is all the artifact cards. And as a bonus, I'm not going to unpack these, but these are the warriors, 2 warriors you get if you support the Kickstarter. So the first one is a Black Goat Occult. It's a green warrior, costs 3. Add 2 fate points for its first act. Second act, banish 2 disciples from your hand. Put a warrior from the Nether Realm into your cost 4. That's the same ability as one of the gods, isn't it? Well, I don't want to go through that, but I swear I've read that ability already. So that allows you to get a warrior for free, so to speak, as long as it costs 4 or less from the Nether Realm into your discard pile. And then the second card you got from the Kickstarter, HP Lovecraft. Gray, costs 3. First act, reduce the cost of gray artifacts by 1 fate point this turn. The second act, draw 1 card. So very standard and giving support to the artifact cards. And that's it. That's all the gods, warriors, disciples, artifact cards, and the temples that comes with the new set, the Rise of the Old Ones set. Overall, this does have a different vibe to it compared to Battle 9 Realms and River of Souls. What really stands out to me is how many of the red warriors allow you to draw a card after you attack. So it's 1, 2, 3 out of the 7. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but compared to the other sets, I don't recall off the top of my head anything that lets you draw a card after attacking. So that's pretty big and it's pretty different. Also, there's quite a lot of cards in this that have that Pisces ability, where you look at your opponent's hand if they have 4 more cards and choose to discard, or there's a lot of cards in here that allow you to take a card from the top of your deck, or take cards from the top of a player's deck and reorganize it, leave some on the top, leave some on the bottom. This set really does focus more on drawing versus the other two. The other two had their fair share of cards that would draw cards or makes you look at your top of your deck, but this one has more from what I can see and off the top of my memory. Which is always welcoming because this kind of mechanic of attackers that let you draw, letting you mess around with the decks, being able to mess with your opponent's hand and these god cards, along with these artifacts, it's just enough to change the game where it plays differently compared to Battle 9 Realms and River of Souls. Battle 9 Realms is just very standard, because I guess that's the first set that came out, so there's nothing really to compare it to. It's just very standard, straightforward, you have some great abilities there, you have some boosts, you can boost attacks. River of the Souls, that was brutal when it comes to attacking your opponent, because your opponent had cards, or there were a lot of cards you can play to defend yourself, so that was more defensive. You have to be more strategic when attacking. And this one, it seems like you have a lot of manipulation of messing around with your opponent's deck or your deck, the top cards, drawing after attack, and the addition of new artifact cards, which with a persistent cards can stick around and pester your opponent, isn't going to give you a repeat experience or a mixed experience of Battle 9 Realms and River of Souls. This does feel like it's giving a new breath of fresh air to a familiar game, while not being too far apart or too distant. I look forward to playing this, and I hope you look forward to playing it too.